Hello everyone, and welcome to the final half of the Majestic. This 2020 PDGA A-Tier taking place at Blue Ribbon Pines in East Bethel, Minnesota, featuring the likes of Nikko Locastro, Jake Lauber, along with Minnesota's own Cale Leiviska, and our current USDGC champion, James Conrad. And again, this is the final half of the second round, and thanks to all of our supporters making the coverage possible. It simply would not have got done without you guys. I do not want to thank Adobe Premiere, who made this at least 10 to 12 hours longer of a process than it should have been. But we're here on hole 14 thanks to Par Save. We've got some great drone previews. We saw a basket hit on this hole first round. Spoiler alert, Austin Hannum tagged the basket, not quite getting the ace. James Conrad has the honors here on hole 14, just 253 feet. This is one of the easier holes on the course. And James proving just that. 42% of the field taking below par here. Jake second on the tee. I was going to say, I didn't think the leaves necessarily hurt him. Clearly grabbing solid tree there did, though. He's a little bit short. Cale, that's going to put him to the right of the pin. Nikko.
It's going to be that kind of day.
I mean, it's Sunday. I don't know what kind of day that is, but it is a gorgeous day out here. A little bit windy, much windier than it was on Saturday. And Nikko almost rings that up from long range. And then he was going to look like he was trying to maybe sweep. Oh, okay, he was getting his mini. I thought he was sweeping off the fairway. Jake's got some work to do, so I can spoil it for you guys since we saw all the tee shots and Jake's not able to convert. Logan Olson carded the ace, it looks like, thanks to our friends at UDisc. Cale, who was pin high, is going to take the birdie, push himself to 11 under. So congratulations, Logan. James with the park job. Again, this comes in as the third easiest hole on the course. 42% of the field getting below par. And then the ace by Logan. Nice work. We're going to move over to hole 15. 256 feet, just 3 feet longer than the previous hole. But this one is a little bit more difficult in terms of the hanging basket. I saw a lot of discussion happen as to whether or not a basket can be hanging like this. By all technicalities, it can be. It does not have to have a pole. It's recommended, but not necessary per any PDGA requirements, that is. And I'm just about pin high as I'm waiting for this shot to come in. I really am more interested in seeing the final flight of it as opposed to the initial gap. And great shot there by Conrad. Cale making it look easy. No surprise, we're going to see a forehand here from Jake. No problems. Also putting himself right there just off the postage stamp green. I can't say enough about how impressed we've seen Nikko's forehand game come along in the last few years. I feel like early on in his career we didn't see much of one, and he's worked really hard to develop one, and he goes to it and relies on it a lot. And it looks very smooth. He's clearly confident with it, and it feels like just about every time he's going to it, it works out well for him. Huge pot by Conrad to the elevated hanging pin. A little bit of wiggle. Great putt by Jake. Jake, we didn't see you try to pick up your disc and then nonchalantly still move forward. Nobody saw that. Nico's going to make sure it's as still as possible. He may have trimmed out some undetermined amount of time there. We saw a star frame during round number 1, and just 8 or 10 feet separate us in round number 2 from doing the same. Cale with the closest to the pin. But wait a minute, there's not really a pin. Closest to the basket? Closest to the tree? Either way, that's a star frame. 8 birdie attempts in 2 rounds, and we get 8 birdies. We move over to 16, 640 feet. Need to clear the pond. You'd love to land just to the right of where that couple of golfers were standing. I'm not going to assume they're a couple, but there were a couple of them. So you'd want to land just left of where they are. I think would be considered a successful tee shot. And James, huge rip. Gets the safe. You can also see James in of a van in the background. Great product placement, James. And speaking of product placement, I got to thank so many people that helped make this coverage even possible. My Patreon subscribers being a huge, huge help. Jake takes that inside route. As always, for my Patreon videos, I typically only will assess one of those to the account. So even though I may release a front and a back, I will just have one of those count towards the pledge. Feels weird to kind of have them both do it, so I have just one of them. And I couldn't do it without you guys. Sounds like there's a firecracker. Jake trying to get out of the tunnel there. Nico's going to again rely on the forehand. And while he does that, I've got Patrick, Lance, Wade, Zack, Terrace, Blue Ribbon Pines, and Chasing the Bees to thank. And I'll thank them more as we move through this. Nico is safe, looking to set himself up for a birdie. You see these scores are just so tight here on this chase card. Little dog strolling through. Not good with dogs. Was that a poodle? Maybe not. Somebody can tell me in the comments. James is looking at a birdie though. Jake trying to take a stress-free par, and the wind is really going to expose us over the next few holes. Being wide out and in the open, and Cale's birdie is just a bit short. Beautiful BRP signage in the background This place opening in 2006, a vision of Ray Jordan and others. Rated as one of the best courses to play in the country. Please make sure you come check it out. Located in East Bethel, which is just north of the Twin Cities. And really just a textbook birdie from James. Huge crush, solid approach into some wind, and then a tap in for the birdie. And we'll see the rest of the guys take their pars and move on. We see 24% of the field taking birdie there, 48% taking their pars. 18th most difficult. We move over to hole 17 though. Just 220 feet. Plays to this island green, and maybe surprisingly or not, this comes in right in the middle in terms of difficulty, averaging over par. And today I'm sure that number looks very different from what we saw on Saturday, considering the wind can mess with the disc so much more and affect it. You saw that one push down on James, and he just barely gets over the edge. So he is inbounds. Any OB shots here go to a drop zone. Cale putting himself pin high. Textbook. Great shot by Jake. And Nikko also on the green. No problems there as we pan over, take a look at the signage again now. Only 20% of our field managed to card a par here. And this is really kind of a do or die hole in the sense that if you're on the green, you're looking at a putt inside the circle. Now, a more challenging putt here today than yesterday, but 46% of the field finding themselves taking bogey or worse. So it's kind of feast or famine here. Or, well, all right, or just a regular entree. Unfortunately for James, he's going to have the par. He's one of the 20% that will take a par here. And now, granted, you would normally take some of these 10 and 12 footers, you know, with your eyes closed. And we see Nikko actually switch to a spin putt just to give him a little bit more power and accuracy on such a short putt. Nice and low. So we see the 3 birdies and a par. We're going to move on top of that hill right there, flying right over the sign here. 760 feet, coming in as the 19th most difficult. It says 92% of the people hit fairways. And if you don't hit a fairway here, I'm not sure you know what you're doing. But we love that we see the signage out there. And I wasn't ready. Cale was just getting up there and ready to go at it. And coming up just short, just short of the OB. Jake playing the left to right flex and clearing the OB. Good looking shot. Nikko adjusting his grip. Continues to fake me out. But this guy is preparing for takeoff. Nikko not afraid to bust out the 360 tournament tee shot and smashes it.
Nice through.
So impressive. That a 360 drive is all about timing, and when usually you see a lot of players will need 1 or 2 or 3 of them to kind of just get their timing dialed in, and then for Nikko just to bust one out. And then Conrad says, all right, I got long legs. I'm going to put a bomb out there as well. Well, here's the caddy cam.
I'm just thinking, if I turn one and it starts floating, there's not a lot of safety going back there. Might as well just think I probably should lay this out. Well, it is a good win for it.
All right. It's a little insight as to what Cale was thinking there. These bushes really are what are forcing him to go out and around. You hear him say he's really just going to go with a layup. Jeffron on the bag. Jeffron celebrating his own milestone in his career path in life, and congratulations to him. And he's out here and been good friends with Cale for many years. Love seeing Jeffron on the mend, doing well, my friend. And this is Jake from the other side of the creek now. And really, just too much power. He's kind of shocked by it. You got to club down, Jake. You got too much power. And he goes past the pin, and then he finds the OB line on that backside. James trying to fight the wind, and it looks like he had the right angle, but either that just carried too much or he just put too much power on it. Either or. He's also out of bounds. Nikko with the huge smash, but has to get over the OB, and it looks like he just barely does. A little bit deceptive from where we were, but that roped in area, of course, is out of bounds. And Cale, who committed to laying up, is going to be right next to the pin looking at his par. Jake not able to save his par, and from almost the exact same distance, we'll see Conrad. And I have to admit, I watched that 2 or 3 times, wondering just how much it sounded like it hit chains and went in. And it didn't. Guess your mind can play tricks you on. Look at Nikko with the easy tap in. Great birdie. Rewarding himself after that very impressive drive. A slam dunk by James Conrad. And we're going to move over to hole number 19. Everything short of the creek is inbound, so you can certainly lay up. But then once you get over the creek, then you have to be committed to finding yourself on the circular green. Everything else outside of that is going to be out of bounds. If you go out of bounds anywhere, you move directly to the drop zone.
Is that all you got?
Nikko challenging the wind gods. Asking if they've got more. He was debating how he wanted to attack this. Playing it with the big hyzer.
upside
saw
down,
that.
dude.
I was like,
I've been practicing the shot. It's useful when it. Thank God it's set. Thank the Lord. I finally caught a break. You guys seen it.
You were thinking about throwing it upside down.
I really did, dude. I'll show you after.
Nikko giving some tips there, tips and pointers. Clearly he's dialed just off the top of the pin. Great shot by Locastro. And Cale doesn't want any of that mess. Cale decides to lay up short. Talk about some hometown love. The guy lays up and he gets a standing ovation. Jake, on the other hand, he's going to be a little bit more aggressive, keeping it low. Very different from Nikko's approach, but a similar result. Tall people problems, right, James? James putting that one up in the air. And unfortunately, the wind just grabbing it and carrying it way left out of bounds. And with that, we'll see him go to the drop zone. Cale, a little bit of work to do with the wind, making it look very easy. James with this for par. All right, that's one way to do it. And then the between the legs handoff. That guy does everything in style. Now, after Nikko hit the top of the basket, I'm not sure he or anyone else realized that he actually carried this far past it. And with how thick that grass is, it's kind of surprising to see, but good aggressive spin putt. And Nikko walks away with the birdie. So my question to you guys, and I just thought of, is have you ever hit metal and then not gotten the birdie? That's what I'd like to leave, or maybe leave your best ace run story in the comments, as Jake's going to pick up a birdie. I want your best ace run. Did it hit chains and then roll down a hill, or hit the basket and then roll out of bounds or something, or have yours always sat down for you? That's what I want to know. Leave it in the comments. That makes you eligible for a disc. I had a bunch of our pros from this tournament sign discs, and I'll be giving those away. We're going to move over to hole number 20, 440 feet. Really straightforward shot here. Just, do you have the power to get there? And can you stay away from a little bit of that backdrop? Most people wouldn't have a problem of carrying too far to find the backdrop, but if you got a long enough approach, I suppose you could. Nikko with a beautiful stand-up. Riding a little bit of that momentum. This hole averages 3.02, coming in as the 20th most difficult.
Oh, that's a little far, isn't it?
You tell us, Jake. Yeah.
Well, that's going to be a fun three.
It certainly is going to be a fun three. Cale also riding the wind as that thing stands up.
Come on, take it.
He wants a little bit of help. There's only so much room on some tee pads, and I'm back as far as I possibly can be, and James uses all of it to throw beautiful shots like that. Pin high, just left of the basket. I left my 440-foot hyzer shot at home. Sorry. So Jake, after a full 2 minutes and 55 seconds of searching, his disc was located over there. Throws it out. It rolls right next to the pin, but keeps going. So he's got a little work to do. As he said, this is going to be a fun three. Cale's just short. Jake to save his par. See if James can pick things back up. He's a little off the pace here as he sits at 11 under par. Yeah. High chain and in. That should push him to 12. And Nikko's really pretty much sitting right where it came down. I didn't think he was going to be as close as he is. But just a power drive putting him right next to the pin at 440. That one also a little bit high. But he'll take the bird and trying to pull away from these guys as he pushes to 15 under par. I'm not taking anything for granted. We're going to move over to hole number 21. Tunnel shot off the tee, playing back out into the opening. And not only do you have the stream and the OB to worry about, but then you have these swirling winds that we were just in a few holes ago. Holes 17, hole 18, hole 20, 19. Actually, the last 3 or 4 holes have all been kind of out in this open area. So paying attention to where the winds were swirling, what was happening out there will be key for when these guys finally do find that opening. Nikko going to the forehand. Not quite clearing straight down the tunnel here. James going with the mid-range. Right up the middle. But unfortunately gets it all the way to the stream. And he finds himself out of bounds. Cale also thinks he's looking for the stream. Jake trying to get the DD plug in there. I like it. And Cale stays safe. However, you'll see in a moment, it's not pretty. And all things considered, that one kicks out nicely for Jake to still find the fairway. He knew it was tight. He's got this left for his approach shot, and it's a difficult one.
Into the hole. Come on. Oh! Dude.
Nikko trying to call it. Jake ringing up the basket. Not quite the birdie from downtown. Beautiful shot nonetheless. Great recovery. And after the tree kick by Nikko, he's not in a bad position here. He can go with a backhand. Great shot by Locastro.
You think you're right or left? I'll rip it back. I do that. I'll do this.
So again, perplexed. Cale looks to his caddy, Jeffron, and I love Jeffron's answer when he asked what he should do, and Jeffron just said, "Hey, you know your game, buddy." Cale, of course, one of the most consistent and smoothest players we've seen.
No.
And believe it or not, that is with a adapter on the wind to try and even calm it. Things are just that crazy out there. A little bit of a filter, and James looking at a bogey. Cale's got work to do, and right off the front of the cage.
Clean it up.
Very difficult to get all the way to this pin. This coming in at the third most difficult hole on the course. And just just 8% of the field carding the birdie 2. Little spoiler. I don't know if the lead card could find themselves to get a birdie on this hole either. So very, very special group of people that could find themselves getting up and down and taking a birdie there. We move over to hole number 22, 342 feet. When I think of Blue Ribbon Pines, there's, of course, a number of iconic holes out here. This is the one that comes to mind for me when I think about this course. Just the way it's shaped, has a nice left to right bend to it, has the OB in front of it. I move off of the tee by about 50 feet or so to try and be able to give you the full angle of the shot. If you're on the tee, the basket is not visible.
I'll take it.
And Nikko says he'll take it. After misfiring to the left, he finds himself still in the fairway. We saw him and Austin Hannum go OB during the first round. And again, a hole that sets up so nicely for a power forehander like Jake is. And you saw him go just deep of the basket. James with a rock. And really no flip up for him on that one, unfortunately. Good initial turn by Cale, but then it stalls out, it stables up at the end for him, and Nikko just a meter or so short of the OB. So all 4 shots were in bounds to some degree. That's a feat in itself. 58% of our 105 open players took a par here, 25% shooting above par.
Yes, lots of cabbage. Damn, so much better off the tee.
Yeah, and I can understand Jake, like I said, that sets up so well for him. And he just had too much power, as Cale also was deep, almost the same distance that we saw from Jake. Oh, you guys are sharing minis. Adorable. %17% of the field carding the birdie. Looks like pars all around, and we're going to move over to hole number 23, 270 feet. You're going to want to throw right up the middle here. I think the mistake that some people make is that they try to have it finish hard left, and if you throw it dead straight and just let it stall, just like gravity, let the natural spin do the work here. Nikko not staying clean and then getting a nasty kick off to that left side. That's kind of insult to injury there.
Sounded clean.
It did sound clean.
Everything, so.
I like the shot by Jake. Little lead card mayhem maybe going on. And Just a pure shot by Conrad. Great concentration for him to pull back, reset himself, and then execute. And I think Cale could have had a blindfold on for that one. Locastro, after the bad kick to the left side, he's in jail with not a lot of options over here.
Yeah?
There's not many mosquitoes, but I think he might have just found one. He's got an easy approach. Nice, calm and collected. Or not. As Jake, no problem, collects the birdie after going deep. Cale with the drop in. James even easier. So we see 3 birdies and then the bogey by Locastro. Quite the score spread you wouldn't necessarily expect to see there. And we move over to hole 24, 388 feet. This is just a big old pull out into the open. The wind is ripping at this point, so that is something that they're going to have to take into account, but this is just a grip it and rip it. It's really a matter of just how close can you get it to the basket. Yes, I know.
Really?
That was Madden-esque. And that wind is pushing harder than
I don't have anything more stable.
than what even Jake was saying. He said that he didn't have anything more overstable. And that looked good out of his hand, but it just pushed. That's not out of bounds. It also looked like it was going to finish a little harder, but then stalled.
Not learn anything? That's wild.
Cale also a little frustrated not getting those wind reads down. Maybe just underestimating how powerful that left to right over the shoulder wind is. But Nikko has an answer. Something to be said about going last on the tee. A little bit of a wind read, and now that we're closer to the basket, you can hear and see what was happening off those tee shots.
Kobe.
From the woods. This is just one of those situations where anything inside 20 feet, you still just can't pick it up and toss it in and take it for granted. Solid putt by James. This comes in as the 14th most difficult hole. And I understand there is a ton of wind as it is just ripping right now. But 388 wide open, I am really shocked to see that we have just 9% of the field took birdies here. 69% of the field, however, taking a par. Nikko's switched up his stance a little. It looks like he might have a spin putt, like we saw in a few of the other windy putts. Executed well. And a huge testament to Nikko that he's one of those players, I think of a Ricky Wysocki, for instance, who, depending on the situation of the exact putt, can switch up their putting style mid-round and be so effective with both. Ricky has more of a pitch loft putt, similar to what you see from Nikko. And then if he needs a spin putt to combat the wind, he can do that and just do it mid-round. Most people have problems going with one or another form, and these guys can fluctuate back and forth. It's very impressive. going to move over to hole number 25. We've got this single cross branch in the way, but just 260 feet. You're looking to play up this right side. I think the trick is to not get it too high and mess with any of the foliage. If you keep it low, you may get some of the skip off the ground because it's a little bit hard. You just don't want that significant kick left or right into the woods. Very gentle bounce back there for James, who looked like he released early. And Nikko piping that shot right up the center. Nikko calling for the basket hit, but he's a little short and left. And Cale's fights through. He'll have a look. This comes in as the 22nd most difficult. And huge shout out. Alex Twos aced this hole. Congratulations to Alex. Good bid by Cale, but a little too much power. So as close as scores were just a few moments ago, we see, three of the guys all tied here at 13. Looks like Jake's going to remain there. And Nikko in these last few holes has really turned things up. Now, he had the bogey, but outside of that, he's really kind of turned it on in the last few holes. He's trying to separate himself, and it doesn't seem like the lead card is pushing incredibly hard. I know they're kind of paying attention to where things are at on UDisc. I don't want to spoil where anything is officially, but Nikko's trying to make his charge here, and he's going to card another birdie, and that's going to push him to 16 under overall. Jake will clean that up. Move over to hole 26, the par 4, 397 feet. Trying to make it to the corner here and then maybe push a little beyond that to give yourself an open shot at the terraced green. Speaking of terrace, I'd like to thank them for their support along with Chasing the Bees. We saw the cut roller by Noah Meinsma the day before, and Nikko said he really liked the shot, but it doesn't appear that he practiced it or went out and tried to tackle it himself. He goes with the backhand. And I wasn't expecting that. James throwing it right into the ground to play the skip flare shot. Pretty creative. Jake pushes around the corner, gets the safe sign and the thumbs up. And then Cale goes for the high lofty shot. So I'd love to also know in the comments, what route would you guys go to try and make this corner? Do you go low skip shot, like we saw by James, which I feel is like the exact extreme opposite from what we saw Cale do, where he goes with a high lofting shot? Because you're really just trying to play to a position and get up to this corner and kill. With the assist. Shout out Dustin Honnold in the Masters division. Was yelling for that to get up there, and it did. And Dustin's your champion in MP40. And your FPO champion was Katrina Allen. So congratulations to all of them. What an incredible drive by Conrad. Oh, and it doesn't quite stick on the green. But just to be in that position, you couldn't ask for anything more off of that tee shot.
I said yesterday, I know why Conrad so good. He never talked about it. Like, in the parking lot.
This is Conrad for birdie. 23rd most difficult hole on the course. 37% of the field taking birdies. 51% of the field taking pars. Conrad lining it up to the elevated pin. And certainly not the day I think most of us would expect from a James Conrad. And I know I said it somewhere else on social media, but I have to commend James. I don't feel like he had his greatest day out here. The composure, the professionalism, just the way he carries himself, just through and through, I think is just incredible to watch. I think that's great anytime we see that. Nikko, easy work there for the birdie. Cale as well. And we're going to watch the tap-ins for par. So we move over to the 27th, final hole of the round, 54th hole of the tournament. Again, thank you, Par Save, Angie and Ray. Blue Ribbon Pines, chasing the bees. Island green, you can come up short of it if you wish. If you do find yourself anywhere out of bounds, you go directly to the drop zone. Do not pass go, do not collect $200. And Nikko looks like he's playing conservative.
I puckered, I ain't gonna lie.
Nikko worried, thought that with the conservative play, he still might throw it out of bounds, but he stays safe. And looks like we're going to get a similar play from Cale. The way the wind was just pushing so hard from right to left. You can see it from the Prodigy feather banner. You can see it from the American flag in the background. Just so difficult to find yourself on this green. James has an AVR. Tour Series JK AVR. James Conrad AVR is maybe a better way to put it, actually. JC AVR. And puts it on the green just past the pin. There's also talk about USDGC berths or exemptions that are being handed out. I think that's on Jake's mind at the moment with how he's been playing. Of course, Nikko, James Conrad, both already qualified for the USDGC, which hopefully we'll see later in the year. And an easy approach there for Jake. Nikko had laid up. And it's not sure how aggressive he was trying to be, but that looked really good. A little half run. Nikko with a solid performance out here. He's looking to tap in for his par, as is Cale. James with the lone remaining look at birdie, trying to close out the tournament. This came in as the most difficult hole on the entire course. Oh, and all or nothing. James just tickles a chain, and unfortunately he carries all the way past it and into the OB. So he's going to be left with a little pitch in, and 10% of the field taking birdies, 55% of the field bogeys or worse. Yep, and there's Jake talking about where he may finish and what that's going to mean for a USDGC spot. That slides out, and that's kind of the cardinal sin. You lay up trying to play conservative and unfortunately don't get up and down. You still take the bogey. as we're going to watch these guys tap out for their pars. If you don't want to see the final results, turn it off right now, because as these guys close out, I'm going to show you the final standings from the lead card as well. But thank you guys for joining us. I can't say enough about the support that you guys have given. This wouldn't have happened with all of you guys. As we take a look at the final scores, Kevin Jones, your champion, at 24 under par. He has successfully defended his title. And a huge jump there by Matt Paulson, who jumped up 11 spots, as did Colin Bailey. So thank you once again. We'll see you hopefully next year at the Majestic. Can't say enough about how much I love this course and all of you gracious supporters there on the screen. I'm the Disc Golf Guy, and I'm signing out. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe.